Hello, this is the Ancient and Medieval History lecture for Wednesday, the 1st of September 2021. And we're going to start out with references to Google Classroom. So you all have something to write on, something to write with, out in front of you, always when I'm in front of the room or when anyone is in front of the room. So open notebook, open paper. You can draw doodles on it, you can write notes, you can do whatever it takes, but you need something to write on and something to write with always. So you need an open piece of paper. Good. We start with Google Classroom. Each person who has been enrolled in my courses has received an emailed invitation on your CDA Panthers account to accept and join my Google Classroom. I'm sure you've gotten this from others. Accept the darn thing. Use the code that you got as part of your invitation. Now, Google Classroom will be useful, in fact, necessary. It is not optional. I use it for certain things and not for others. So, when you open up the Google Classroom for Honors Ancient and Medieval History 9, Period 1, which is what this course is, you will default open to the stream. And this basically is the weblog for your class. Oldest items are first. So you'll see here, this is a small excerpt from the Bayeux Tapestry, which is a medieval tapestry depicting the Norman conquest of England in 1066. We'll go over that next spring. If you want to start, well, you will want to start at the bottom with the very first message. So what is the very first message? Well, welcome. Here are your electronic copies of the paperwork packets and information that you should be receiving on and around opening day. Keep them, use them, you'll need them. Be prepared for the challenge of working hard to learn something of value. And here you have both Microsoft Word and PDF versions of all the papers that you got at the beginning of the year, which we're going to be beginning to go over today. Your notes, your syllabus and class policies packet, case study, and your chapter survey sheet. You will want to make sure that you have on your Google Drives electronic versions of these documents, just in case you lose the paper versions. The second message is my opening video, which I told you I want a comment on. 6 of you made comments, and that's not enough. So when you get on here, as confirmation of your being on here, you will view this video and you will make a comment in the public comment section right below. This is a homework assignment. I'm grading it. You will have a 0 if it is not done. I'd like it done sooner than later, by next Tuesday. The message also includes a link to my school YouTube channel. So let's see what that involves. Okay, here is one of my 2 YouTube channels. One of them includes my middle initial. That is not my school YouTube. That is my personal YouTube, where I declaim, rant, and speak on political issues and philosophical issues. Not particularly designed for you or any high school student. If you show up there, it's at your own risk. You're going to encounter even more of my evil conservatism than you're going to encounter in class. This one just has my first and last name. And what it includes, aside from a picture of Pluto, our 9th planet, it's not a planet, it's a dwarf. It's a planet. Here we have Honors Ancient and Medieval History, and all the videos in order. I am going to try to restructure this so that my newest videos appear here and the older ones go back. Right now it's in order of oldest to newest. That's going to change. So you see here the playlist for 2021, 2022, Honors Ancient and Medieval History 9, and This is everything we've done so far, and this is where I'll be posting today's lecture. If you want to look ahead at what the Euro students are doing, be my guest. Here we have last year's videos. Let's say that you're out in December and you don't want to fall behind. You can go, at some point I may stop recording new videos for the year when my videos from last year are going to suffice for delivering the lecture. So you can, if you're homesick, look up last year's videos for ancient medieval history under the 2020-2021 video playlist. And there are 171 of them. Or if I'm still recording videos, you can look here on this playlist. You may have to look around for the topics that we're covering, but since you're plugged into what we've been doing until you went home, you should have a pretty good idea of where we are. It should take you no more than 5 or 10 minutes to find the videos you're looking for. Any questions so far? I post the classroom videos on the web stream on Google Classroom. But this is a backup in case you don't, for whatever reason, have the ability to cleanly access your Google Classroom. Go onto YouTube, it's widely available. Look up my first and last name. And if you see Planet Pluto with my ugly mug and these playlists, you're in the right place. Okay, now we go back to the Google Classroom. My third message was Baker. Baker is the term that I use for your homework chapter survey worksheets. Reason I call it Baker is because with the textbook that you have, an earlier version, this workbook is something I bought. I got classroom copies. And every chapter that you read, there are a series of questions. So what will help you with this is taking out your chapter survey sheet. Chapter survey sheet is the single sheet I gave you, and it says chapter survey, Mr. Genorio, chapter number. Chapter survey worksheet. Now, I also handed out to you Chapter Survey 1's questions, which are scanned from this workbook. I'm giving it to members of my class. I have classroom copies. I bought the books. This is a fair use of the material. But I gave you a paper copy of Chapter Survey 1 because I wanted you to see how this would work. This is all from the Baker workbook, written by James T. Baker. That's why I call it Baker. So, for Chapter Survey 1, let's look at the handout I gave you. The top of the handout, the front of it, says Preface, and it also lists in my calligraphy what this book is. You can read that at your leisure. Flip it, and you are on Chapter 1, the Ancient Near East, the first civilizations. And what you will see is an outline of the chapter as written in your textbook. That might help you with your readings. Next page. On the next page, you will see a chapter summary, where in 4 short paragraphs, Mr. Baker summarizes Mr. Spielvogel, who wrote your textbooks, entire chapter. This also may be useful to you in finding out what many people think is important in the chapter. You will then see learning objectives and glossary of names and terms, which also may be useful. But after that, where it says on the lower right, match these words with their definitions, here, that's the first thing you're actually responsible for. Here's how. On your chapter survey worksheet, you will see a place for your name. Put your Christian name and your family name, or your first name and your last name. I do not want Joe. I don't care if everyone knows you as Joe. This is formal work. I want your first and last names. If you don't put your last name, I take 5 percentage points off your grade regardless of everything else. I do this on homework. I do this on tests. I do this on everything. First and last names. Always, 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 always for me. The date that you're working on it. The class period you're in, which is number 1. You're all number 1. Isn't that great? Chapter survey. You see here, chapter number 1. Title, The Ancient Near East. Pages, if you want to get fancy, you can write those in. That's, I guess, option. Then you'll see right below that, V, which is Roman numeral 5, matching. And you will see 10 slots for 10 answers. There are 10 names, numbered 1 through 10, and items Alpha through Juliet. I think you have to match them. I think that's what you're going to have to do here. So, let's look up Australopithecus. I'll help you with number 1 right now. Australopithecus. Let's look through the answers. What could it... Aha! I see it! Can any of you guess which is Australopithecus? Which means Great Southern Ape, if you know your Latin or Greek. I think it's Latin. Austral. South. Yes?
J.
Close. Close, 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 close. It is actually, yes?
I.
Item. Ivan. I. Yes, that's the answer. Because Australopithecus, I get the hairy beast thing. I have actually, if I was just glancing, would have chosen that one too at first. But that's actually from a myth, a legend. The first hominids to use stone tools, Australopithecus. A hominid is a anthropological term for basically proto-human, humanoid, hominid. See where it says numero uno on section 5 matching? You would put a capital I. Always use capital letters in answers. Even when the answers are listed in lowercase letters, use capital letters. Here's why. If I can't immediately identify the item, it's wrong. If you write a, could be an A, could be an E, could be a C, could be some kind of G, it's wrong. Okay, I've seen this. I've seen people intentionally and willfully write sloppily so that they sort of have an A-S. It could be an A, could be an E, could be an S. That's lowercase. Don't do that. Write in clear, capital letters, unambiguous, absolutely crystal clear what you're writing. If you're wrong, you're wrong. If you're right, you're right. But if it's confusing, then it's wrong. Remember this also when you do quizzes and tests for me, because I'm going to have you often correct each other's work in some way, shape, or form. And if that happens and you write so sloppily they can't read it, they'll say, I'm sorry, Mr. G, I can't read this. What does it say? And I'll say, if it's not clear, it's wrong. That's what it says. It's just wrong. Don't even waste your time with it. Always write clearly. So, number 1, big capital I. That's the matching section. Flip the page. You do all those. Then you see where it says choose the correct answer. Now, in fancy educational lingo, this is a multiple choice section. Multiple choice. There are 20 multiple choice questions over the next few pages. So, what you do is you pick the best answer and you write it down, numbers 1 through 20. Let's see if I can guess their first question. Number 1. All of the following are believed to be achievements of the Paleolithic age, except A, the utilization of tools, B, the development of abstract thought, C, the development of art, D, the regular production of food through agriculture, and E, a rough equality between men and women. Let's see. Does anyone have a guess that they wish to offer as to which of these, or if you know it, which of these was not done in the Old Stone Age? That is what Paleolithic means. You'll learn that. Yeah.
Rough production of food for agriculture.
You are absolutely right. That's it. So, number 1 in the multiple choice section, write a capital D delta, which is the correct answer. Even though they're lowercase, write it in caps, because it's much easier to read capital letters than lowercase letters. So that's what you do there for your chapter survey. Don't worry about the rest of this page. Let's flip it to the last page, the second side of your answer sheet. So now we're back here in the questions, and we're going to go ahead, and you see the end on the next page of your questions, the end of your multiple choice section. Then there's a section, complete the following sentence. I used to have people do that. And then we all realized it's stupid. I rarely say it's stupid. S-T-O-O-P-I-D. Stupid. But this section is stupid, so we don't do it. Next. Next page. You'll see place things in order. I used to have people do that, but I don't anymore. Not stupid, I just don't. And then you will see two sections of essays. A section labeled Questions for Critical Thought, 8 of them, and a section labeled Analysis of Primary Source Documents, 8 of them. And here you will see a place for a long essay and a short essay that you will write. You get to pick any one of the 16 essay questions to do for your long essay and any other one of your 16 essay questions to do for your short essay. It's up to you. Now you have to list the question number and check. You see those two little boxes up top next to long essay? You see 9 questions for critical thought and 10 analyzing primary source documents. So if you were to do... okay. If you were to do questions for critical thought number 1, you'd write a 1, and you would put a check or an X or some kind of mark in the box to the left of 9 questions for critical thought. That way I know it's essay number 1 from the section Questions for Critical Thought. It's so complicated in history. And the same thing for your short essay. Now, if I'm asking you to do essays, what's all this stuff here? Can't I just let you be free to express yourself in any way you want? This is history, not English. It's not about self-expression exactly. All good history essays have four basic components. Thesis, rationale, evidence, and significance. So this is what's called a structured essay. And if you learn how to write my structured essays, you will learn a form of essay writing that will hold you in good stead in many classes in the future. It will make it useful and more possible for you to easily get a better grade on an AP exam or in college. Every good historical essay should have a thesis. What's the summary of your overall point? A rationale. A logical, reasonable explanation of why your point is valid. A list of evidence. You don't actually have to write the evidence section in normal prose. You can do it in bullet points. And significance. Why should we care? Why does it matter? Why is it important? So, okay, the questions for critical thought number 1. I'm going to work this through with you. Is what makes a civilization? Is that basically it? What are the main characteristics of a civilization? What are its alternatives? Why do humans prefer civilization to the alternatives? Well, they don't always. But, okay, we'll start with evidence. I never start with my thesis unless I just get a real intuition of what I want to say. So, what are the characteristics of civilization? Well, you're going to learn them, but I'll list them right now. Number 1. Cities. That's it. Cities. So put a bullet point under evidence for your long essay. Cities. A civilization needs cities. That's settlements so big that if trade broke down, most people would starve to death. Cities. And you don't have to write this down, but the reason is that cities force people to solve certain problems, like clean water, sewage, how to get along with people without slaying them. You know how annoying people can be. In a state of nature, we might just kill everyone that annoys us. Back in the Old West, There was a gunfighter who got drunk, went to bed in a hotel with thin walls. There was a guy next door to him right behind his headboard snoring, and he took out his six-shooter and boom, boom, bam, 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 right through the walls and killed the guy for snoring too loud. If we do that in cities, nothing works, okay, because everyone's shooting it out. So, cities. Okay, second bullet point, specialists. 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 What are specialists? Well, they're people who are special. No, not exactly. A specialist does just one job well enough to get paid for it, and they buy everything else. So, for example, I convinced people that I'm good enough as a teacher to get paid for it. And so I don't have to build my house. I hired guys. I don't have to grow my food. I hired guys. I don't have to slaughter my beef. I hired guys. I don't have to cut my glasses lens. I hired guys. I teach. I get paid for that. And everyone else has their specialty. A civilization does not have people who do everything they need to. That's in the wilderness. A civilization has people who specialize. And there are good things. And we'll go into these in more depth. Third point. Writing. Civilizations need some form of writing and counting. You need some people who are literate and numerate. Now, writing doesn't have to be for everyone. Back in ancient times, there was a class of job that all of you would be qualified for right now if you could speak the language. It's called scribe. A scribe is like a lawyer today, or a scribe is like an accountant today. They're the ones who write everything down. So they're professional readers and writers. I presume you are all both numerate and literate. Therefore, you could all be scribes if you spoke the language, if you read and write their strange moon symbols. But writing is necessary, because without writing there is no complex activity. You try building a pyramid without writing and without numbers. It may seem simple. Just pile things up until they're smaller. No. You end up with things like the bent pyramid. They actually did this. They built half a pyramid really steep, and then they said, oh, this isn't working. Beep! And the top is sort of truncated. It's sort of this little nub pyramid. You'll see it. It's funny. Okay, so we got cities, specialists, writing, high technology. That's your next bullet point, high technology. High technology may be the wheel, which it was in ancient Sumeria. Nobody had wheels except them. You might not think wheels are a big deal. Try living without them. Okay, sewage. There's another bit of high technology. You might not think that sewers and clean water are that important until you live in a city of over 10,000 people without them. Go to Paris in the summertime and you'll get some notion of that. Paris is not known for its cleanliness in the summertime, and there is an odeur in certain sections of it. So high technology. Fifth and last is complex institutions. Institutions of culture. Just call it institutions or complex institutions. That's the family. That's government. That's law, the military. Those are all complex institutions of culture. In a school, here we are doing education. That's a complex institution of culture. So there's your evidence right there as to what makes a civilization. Now here's a rationale. Cities force cultures to develop ways of keeping their people alive. You can write this down if you want. I'm actually helping you write this essay. Cities force cultures to solve certain problems to keep their people alive. Cities force cultures to solve certain problems to keep their people alive. From architecture to fresh water, from architecture, A-R-C-H-I-T-E-C-T-U-R-E, from architecture, A-R-C-H-I-T-E-C-T-U-R-E, from architecture to running water, systems need to be built that will allow people to live close together without dying or killing each other. Cities architecture and fresh water allow people to live close together without dying or killing one another. Manners also have to develop. So manners also have to develop so that you don't feel like you have to kill everyone who stumbles into you. Manners also are developed so that you don't feel you have to kill everyone who stumbles into you or who offends you. I could go on, but that's enough. Cities are the indispensable thing. Now, the tribesmen of Papua New Guinea, of Central Africa, and of the Brazilian rainforests are cultures. A culture is a group of people, you don't have to write this down. A culture is a group of people bound together by certain core beliefs. Incest is wrong. Cannibalism is wrong. We worship Ranji and Papa, the god of the sky and the goddess of the earth. We believe that sharks are the symbols of death. I mean, whatever it is that holds the society together, those core beliefs, that's a culture. All tribes are cultures. All human beings are part of some kind of culture, unless they're raised by wolves. And then they're part of wolf culture, because wolves have culture too in their own weird little Vulpine way. If you've never had a chance to see wolves, see them. They're interesting creatures. Okay. But not all cultures are civilizations. The word civilization itself, I'm just talking to you, comes from civitas, a Latin word for city. We are civilized, we are city folk, we are of a civilization, a culture with cities. So cities are the indispensable things. And so there's your thesis right there. Without cities, there is no civilization. Just write that down as is. For a thesis. Without cities, there is no civilization. Without cities, there is no civilization. Without cities, there is no civilization. Okay. So we have 3 of the 4 pieces of your structured essay. But look at how I started. I started with evidence, then I made my rationale, then I summarized my rationale as my thesis. I really recommend this as a way of doing these things. I do. It's the most logical way to do it. What's left? Significance. Why does it matter? Why does it matter that without cities there is no civilization? Okay, I'm going to brainstorm. I could ask you, actually, what's the big deal about saying cities are necessary for civilization? Why should we care? Do any of you right now want to hazard a guess or a thought on the question of why cities are necessary for civilization matters?
To prolong the human lifespan.
Go on.
Like, generation-wise, like, to keep generations going, to expand our human, like, as far as possible.
If we want to keep things going, we have to preserve our cities. We have to preserve our civilized ways. It deserves our attention. It's like a garden. If you plant a garden and then ignore it, and I know I've done this, it's terrible, it dies. It either dries out because it's Idaho and rain doesn't fall enough. I'm used to New England where it rains naturally. And or weeds consume everything. Civilization requires our attention. We've got to cultivate it. Otherwise, it dies like a garden. Yeah?
Maybe cities to
Yeah. Cities are settlements so big that if trade broke down, most people would die. You get a neighborhood like my old neighborhood in the Bronx, and suddenly there's no power, there's no money, everyone's got to suddenly grow their own food, and most of the people are going to die or go cannibal because the Bronx just has too many people per square mile for people to farm or ranch or fish or do anything to survive. They will die, or they will go out and form war bands and conquer other people. So, without money, without trade, there is no cities. So it's important for us, among other things, to make sure that trade and the free market continues to work. If it doesn't, our cities will collapse and our civilization will fall. And then we're all dealing with apocalyptic road warrior, Mad Max, whatever bad sci-fi movie you want to think of after the apocalypse. Walking Dead, I guess, is the more modern one. It's not fun. I mean, it may seem fun. There are all sorts of games about the zombie apocalypse because you get to shoot things without feeling guilty. But it in reality would not be nearly as fun as it may seem. Our civilization could fall. In fact, I promise you, At some point, it will fall, hopefully far in the future. Hopefully we will be good stewards of it. It matters because if we don't work at it, civilization collapses and we have a dark age. Now, what's the point of going through all that? That is a good essay. It has all those components. Every time you write an essay for me, I want you to do that. It may seem weird, but you'll get used to it. Every time you write an essay, thesis, rationale, evidence, significance. So, what's this little bitty short essay down here? Well, you do the same thing, but with less time. Okay? You just pick another essay question, and you don't have to go into quite as much detail. Okay? Why? I'll just make up a question. Why do most societies ban cannibalism as taboo? Cannibalism is eating human flesh. Why would most societies say cannibalism is wrong? Some, by the way, don't. Stay away from them. What amazes me is that Fiji, the islands of Fiji, which are some of the most beautiful places on earth, used to be known as the Cannibal Isles because Fijians, as part of their culture, were cannibalistic. And today it's a tourist trap. People go there. Pula! That's the Fijian word for hello. Why would you go to a place for fun that used to eat people? It's sort of like, yeah, come as tourists. We love tourists. They don't do that. They really don't. Fiji is a beautiful place with wonderful people. And the only reason they were cannibals is they couldn't get enough protein in their diet. But still, nobody wants to be food. Nobody wants to be lunch. If I have to fight and die in a war, that's bad enough. I do not want to be eaten by my enemies. So it's basically self-interest. Most societies say cannibalism is evil because most people don't want to be eaten. Did you have your hand up?
Oh, no.
Okay. So, do you have any questions about the essays? Okay. I see no questions. Now, the remainder is document analyses. Suppose I can go over this now. There are my books. Wait. Okay. Here is Spiel Vogel. Hello, Spiel Vogel. Spiel Vogel is your textbook. And this is where you're going to read chapter 1. Now, I don't know who put these things in. Okay. So here's the beginning of chapter 1. And you see pages and pages and pages. There's a map. There's some pictures. Look at this. This is a document. A document is a relic of the time that is written down. It is an excerpt of writing from long ago. That's a document. You can tell it's a document because it has this parchment-colored paper. Right? Let's keep going. Documents are going to be important, but there's a special kind of... See, a lot of documents. Look at all these documents. Look at this! This is a pinky page. This page here is called Opposing Viewpoints. I'm going to walk around and show it to you. Opposing Viewpoints. Opposing Viewpoints is a special section in each chapter that has multiple documents on the same topic from different points of view. So you could have a pro-cannibal point of view. When I eat the hearts of my enemies, I steal their mojo. And a anti-cannibalistic point of view. There is no such thing as mojo, you creep. Don't eat me. Which is a reasonable argument as far as I'm concerned. So, in the chapter 1 opposing views section, you have 2 flood myths. The Epic of Gilgamesh is from ancient Iraq, what was called Mesopotamia. And that's where the hairy beast actually comes from. And you also have the Noachian myth from the book of Genesis in the Old Testament, the story of Noah and the flood. And so these are 2 different recountings of the flood. I'm telling you, there was a flood. It didn't cover the entire planet, but it did cover parts of the ancient Near East. It probably had to do with the flooding of the Black Sea. But cities were wiped out in this flood. Also, in ancient Mesopotamia, it's a giant river valley with 2 massive rivers. And if you know anything about massive rivers, they flood every year in springtime. Some springtimes are so bad that the entire landscape becomes a giant lake or swamp for a while. So they have legends of the flood. Okay, for your first two documents on the front page of your chapter survey worksheet, you will see first opposed views, first doc, second doc. So next to first doc, you'd write Gilgamesh. Write it down now. Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is Gilgamesh. 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 The second one is Noah. 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 And what you will do is you will see that there are four sections here. Context, content, vocabulary, and critique. Let me explain these to you. Context is author. Oh, it's written down. Place and time. Yep. Bias. What are they for and against? The audience they're writing for and why they're writing it. So, who's the author? When and where was it written? What are they arguing for and against? That's bias. Who's their audience? Is it a king? Is it everyday people? Is it a bunch of merchants? Is it soldiers? And what's the reason they're writing it? So you're going to read the Gilgamesh epic excerpt, and you're going to come up with the context by doing a little research. You're going to do the same thing for the story of Noah. By the way, there are 3 or 4 stories of Noah that are all intertwined in the Old Testament. It's interesting. Then content. Restate it, the basic point, in your own words. For example, Noah. I can help you restate that right now because I'm a lousy Christian. I'm a Christian, not a very good one, but I am a Christian. So I can tell you, people sinned. This is under content for Noah, which is on the right. People sinned and God was angered. People sinned and God was angered. God flooded the world except for the faithful. People sinned and God was angered. God flooded the world except for the faithful. Noah led the faithful and preserved the animals. That's it. God was angered by the people's sins. Noah got the animals because God said, get the animals. He led the faithful, and God cleanses the world of all except for the faithful. That's the story, in a nutshell. You may find a different way of saying it, but you're putting it in your own words. That's content. You summarize it in your own words. Do not copy unless you're quoting. And even then, don't do a lot of that. Do you understand what I mean by content and by and context? Context, where it's from. Content, what it says. Anyone have any question about that? Okay. Vocabulary. I want you to find 2 words and define them that you are not used to. Now, you may have a fantabulous vocabulary of all. See, fantabulous is not even a word. But if you do, I want you to pick 2 unusual words. They can be proper names. They can be unusual. I just want 2 words that you think are interesting and phrase-long definitions. Okay? Like the word arcane. I don't know if arcane features there, but arcane, A-R-C, you don't write it down. Arcane, A-R-C-A-N-E, means something that is unusual and from a very obscure set of knowledge. That's arcane. Okay? So you give 2 words and their definitions in that space. See where it says first and second? Finally, critique. Critique's the fun part. What's your reaction to it? Why does it matter? Why do you like it or not? Why do you agree with it or not? So some of the things we're going to read are going to be from people that actually think that the women should be educated and that they have real value in society. Who would have thought? You can decide if you agree or disagree with that. And why? Critique is also why the document is important. Why is the Noah myth important? Well, I'll tell you. Jews, Christians, and Muslims all believe that the world will end with Judgment Day. But God is not going to ever again use flood as a means of purging the world. He'll use fire. Oh, no. So that may be a significance, the widespread belief in an apocalypse and a judgment day. There could be others. The rewards of faith. Noah's faithful. He's saved. The people around him are not faithful. They are destroyed. So what do you think is important? Now, the last thing on your chapter survey sheet that I'm going to show you is the third. See down below it says third document, context, content, critique. If there's a third of opposing views, do it. Some opposing views sections have 3 or 4 documents. You do all 3, or you pick 3 out of the 4. But in chapter 1, you've only got 2. So, what do? Well, don't tear the pages. That's the first thing. Here you go. You find another document in the chapter of your choice. It can be whatever you choose. And you do the same type of analysis. Context, content, critique with the vocabulary. Okay, there's a place for vocabulary down below. So in this case, it's the first monotheistic ruler on earth, Akhenaten, Pharaoh of New Kingdom Egypt, and you read what he says, and you do what we did for those other opposed views documents. Is that clear? Does anyone not understand? So I've just gone over your chapter survey. When is your first chapter survey due? Well, chapter survey 1 for Ancient is due on Monday, September 20th. You got other things to do before then, but you've got from now until the 20th. Then after that, 1 week later, chapter survey 2 is due on Monday, September 27th. So you might rightly want to get this done early. Okay, so we did the chapter survey, and now we're back in Google Classroom. Let's see what else is here so that you know. Okay, well, here are chapter surveys for chapters 4 and 5, 6 and 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Basically, everything you need for the year is already posted on your Google Classroom stream. You should upload each document to your own drive, but you have access to them. So let's say we want to see here for chapter 11. So you just click on it, there it is. And then you can do all sorts of things with it, including blow it up so that you can get a bigger picture. Okay, now what's here? Well, for Monday, I have the video of the introduction that we had. For yesterday, I have video of the lecture I had. I didn't show the movie clips because that would be copyright infringement, according to certain YouTube algorithms, but everything I said. And just in case I screwed up in copying chapter 1, I have the same thing that you have in paper form here available on the stream. So you have everything that you need. And today you'll see this video on there. Any questions at all about what Google Classroom has on its stream for you? I know this isn't the most fun type of lesson, but I'm just trying to show you how things will work. Now, I'll show you a second section, classwork. We're never going to use it! Last year, during hybrid, I was stupid enough to trust Google Classroom with assignments. I'm not doing that ever again. The only thing you'll find on Google Classroom is stuff on the stream. You will never, ever, ever submit work for me in electronic form unless we go completely online. And then, if you do that, I will tell you how to do it. It will probably be through email attachments. I hate Google Classroom, so we are not going to use it. Turn in your work in paper form. Let's see. Now, what that means is that after this Unit 1, I'm not giving you any more of these paper worksheet collections. You have it all online for you to read the questions and do your answers. What if you need more of these sheets? Well, over here on the upper right, upper left, above period four's shelf, you'll see an entire collection of Google of chapter survey worksheets. I usually keep this up, so you can get a bunch. You won't need more than 11 for the entire year. So you do this. You can get them here. Case studies are there. Now, I warn you, a chapter survey will take you, since you're not familiar with them, 5 or 6 hours. You have an entire week or more to do it, but I would budget 5 or 6 hours to get it done. In ancient history, I'm not asking for the first one until September 20th. It is now, what, September 1st? So you've got 20 days or 19 days to do this thing. Don't wait. Some teachers give you lots of little daily homework assignments. I don't do that. Once a week or less, you will have work from me. Always or almost always do on the first day we get back. So if I were you, I'd get ahead. Now, after a while, you know what'll happen? You'll get good at these. And you'll be able to do one of my chapter surveys in between 3.5 and 4.5 hours. Which for a week of work is about what you should be doing. So understand there's a learning curve. And once you master that learning curve, you're going to be in good shape. And if you have me next year, which you may very well, I do the same thing. So if you've mastered my format, you'll master something that'll be useful to you for a while. Any questions on the chapter survey? Okay. Don't need this on anymore. I will expect you to have gotten online and onto the Google Classroom, accepted my invitation before next Tuesday. Okay. Upcoming homework for you guys. Well, many of you have already gotten it done. But in the event you haven't, let me explain to you. This is your syllabus. Your syllabus is a listing of every set piece assignment from now until June. I'll probably add things here and there for you to write a short essay on this or give me your thoughts on that. But on this and this page side, you've got every assignment. You probably want to look along with me. You've got every assignment that you will need from now until the end of the year. This allows you to plan ahead. Due on week 2, Tuesday, September 7th, 2021. Okay, on the third page side, you will see the beginning of the class policies packet. It starts out with a warning label. My class has a warning label. What it basically says is, we're going to talk about politics and religion. Because politics and religion were a cause of wars back then, and they are still today. Number 2, we're going to talk about how ancient crises connect to modern controversies. So we're going to talk about things that we can't easily disagree about. Matters of life and death, matters of identity, matters that are worth living for, dying for, and killing for. I'm going to tell you what I think. I'm a conservative. I don't expect you to be conservatives. I'm not telling you to persuade you to be conservatives. I'm telling you because there's the facts and then there's opinion. Like you, I have an opinion. My hope is that we will have good discussions. Some of you who are progressive, maybe even not asleep or woke, hopefully will bring your ideas into the classroom. Don't expect me to agree, because I won't, but I'll treat your ideas with respect, because one of the good things about history is being able to use it to try to figure out today's problems. And that means taking the facts of history and interpreting them. And interpretation is always a matter of opinion. When I was in college, I had commie professors. I knew this because they showed me their Communist Party ID cards. Okay, I'm not exaggerating. They were card-carrying members of the Communist Party of the United States of America. And they hated me because I was as conservative in college as I am now. Didn't like me. And in many cases, they punished me for having views that were different from theirs. No way in God's green earth am I going to do that to you. I don't care what you believe. You could worship Boji, the fruit bat god, for all I care. It doesn't matter to me. You could believe that men and plants should be properly sexually aligned in some new gender. I don't care. I would like to talk with you about how we interpret things. And if we disagree, no big deal. If we agree, no big deal. It's fun if you approach it with the right spirit. But if you expect me to cater to your every belief, I'm not that guy. I won't do it. You might have certain beliefs about this, that, or the other thing. I will try to be respectful. But I'm not going to change the way I think or do things necessarily to avoid offending you. If you're offended, it shows you're paying attention. I cheese off everyone. Equally, that's my job. So there are going to be times when you walk in here and we have a discussion, and you're going to be so damn mad at me. And that's good. I'm not trying to get you mad for its own sake. These things that we disagree about, they matter. They're important. So we should talk about them freely and openly. And we'll do that. That's what the warning label is. Anyway, we'll go more and more into detail about this tomorrow. But you're going to have, at the bottom, your printed name, your parent guardian's signature, your signature, and dates on the signatures. Also, the parents should indicate by putting their initials next to this boldface section at the bottom to indicate they understand my movie policy. You cut it off, turn it in. We'll continue tomorrow. Thank you for your attention. Have a wonderful day.